remain standing for a moment for the invocation.
Gracious God, we thank you for the privilege of being elected to serve the people of this community, and I ask that tonight you would give us wisdom, help us to be open to hear and to receive information so that the decisions that we make will help the people in Shiawassee County to flourish as you intend for them. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you. All seats, please. Madam Clerk, roll call, please. We have Commissioner Holzhausen and Commissioner Johnson are both excused.
Thank you. Commissioner Webster? Commissioner Holzhausen excused. Commissioner Johnson excused. Commissioner Garber?
Here.
Commissioner Howard?
Here.
Commissioner Emery?
Here.
Chairman Broder?
Here.
We have a quorum.
At this time, I'd be looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
We got a motion with support. Any discussion or changes to the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. This time I'd be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of December 15, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting.
So moved.
Support?
I have a motion with support. Discussion on the minutes. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is approved. And we also need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 4th, 2023 organizational meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Motion with support. Discussion on those. All in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those are approved. All right, next we move to the approval of the bills. Commissioner Gimmer.
Thank you. I move to approve the invoice edit reports dated 12/12/2022, 12/16/2022, 12/19/2022, 12/22/22, 12/23/22, 12/29/22, and 1/6/23, and authorize Treasury to draw the warrants for same.
Support.
I have a motion with support. Any discussion on the bills? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Holzhausen is excused. Commissioner Johnson is excused. Commissioner Garber?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner Webster?
Yes.
And Chairman Broder?
Yes, the bills are approved. At this point, we have our first opportunity for the public to address the board. Did anyone, I do have no slips up here. It doesn't look like. Oh, a side note, everybody, please make sure your phones are muted. We've had a couple of problems recently with that. All right, then we can move on to committee reports. Commissioner Garber, would you like to get us started?
Yes, thank you. I move that we approve the 2022 budget adjustments as presented.
No, we're on
Committee
to,
reports.
we are on to committee reports.
Oh,
You got anything to tell us?
I don't. I was trying to hurry it along.
We have a special presentation before your part.
I tried.
It's been a light month. I don't have anything, not everything even met, so.
Okay.
You're ready for it. We didn't meet in December, so it's our last meeting, so I'm going to turn it over.
All right. Commissioner Emery, anything?
I didn't meet.
This is kind of exciting in its own way, isn't
That's
it?
right.
I do have one thing to tell you. It's about the land bank. As you know, we have the $200,000 to eliminate blight, and we picked two very worthwhile projects. One in Lennon to tear down a number of buildings in their downtown area, and of course the Simplicity project down in Duran, which I'm very excited, as are many people. The one in Lennon is a little bit iffy right now, and Justin Horvath and myself are going to be working with them over the coming days to see if we can get their documents together and still have that project move forward. If not, then the land bank may end up picking one of the alternative projects. So I will keep you all up to date on that, because the last thing we want to do is lose that state money to get rid of some blight in our community. That's just a terrific thing. So I just wanted to let you know what was going on there. Also, stopped over at the hospital, we saw the site. For the courts, it's just going to be fine. I can't think of anything else in particular. So with that, we will move on to, we have a special presentation was requested by Commissioner Holzhausen regarding the possibility of putting some UV scrubbers apparently in our courthouse. So gentlemen, you may take it, if you'd come up here, please, you can take it in whichever order you would prefer. I was told you'd need about 15 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, commissioners, it's a pleasure to talk to you today. My name is Harlan Barrow. I am a clinical pathologist. Our group has the pathology contract at Memorial. I met Doug over at the airport. I'm a flyer. He's a flyer. He hangs out at the airport. He told me about his business opportunity, asked me if I would be a technical consultant, and I said yes. So here I am. I want to give you just the slightest little lecturette on microbiological diseases. A bacterium is alive. With a food source, it will grow and reproduce without a host. A virus is not alive. One of the definitions of being alive is being able to reproduce. A virus cannot reproduce without a host. Here's some little med student information about viral and bacterial diseases. A virus is not a living organism. It grows and reproduces with a host. It's usually a systemic infection, someone that gets a viral disease. All cells of the body are affected. Flu, measles, polio, COVID-19 are examples. Bacteria, they're living organisms. You get a bacterial infection in your lungs. You get an abscess in your muscles. And one of the examples includes pneumonia and tuberculosis. So, viral versus bacterial. How does a virus work? A virus works at the top here, right here. It enters the cell, usually with COVID-19, the thing we've been cursed with for the last 3 years. God knows where it came from, but it enters in the nasal, mucosal, pharyngeal area. It has a little genetic material in it. That genetic material gets inserted into the cell. It's like a pirate. It takes over the cell and now gets the cell to make more viruses. And here you've got a COVID-19 person in the office, in the classroom, coughing, sneezing, and giving it to everybody else. I'd like to inform you about UVC air sterilization. This is the electromagnetic spectrum. This is heat. You can kind of feel a heat off of a UV heater or even a hot lamp light. And then now here's the visible that we can see. Red, clear to blue and violet. What we can't see is UVA, B, and C. You cannot see it. You can see a tiny little bit of this, but not very much. You see the visible cuts off at UVA. I'm really glad that someone gave a little prayer at the beginning of our meeting, because our sun makes the entire spectrum, heat and the whole thing, plus UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVA can get right through our atmosphere. It causes us to tan, it causes your hair to bleach, it causes clothes to fade. UVB can get just a little bit through the ozone layer. But the reason I said I was glad there was an invocation is God gave us an ozone layer, and in that ozone layer, no UVC can come through. It's probably why we have life on Earth, because UVC will damage DNA. UVC can break DNA and RNA. The frequency is so fast that it will have enough energy to break DNA. And this is how it sterilizes both bacteria and viruses. It damages DNA if they're no longer infectious. They cannot hurt you. Bacteria and viruses will be, I don't like to use the word killed because viruses aren't alive, but they can be deactivated and made harmless. Now, no UVC from the sun can get to the earth, but we can make UVC equipment that these other gentlemen are going to tell you about. And that equipment with these UVC bulbs, you cannot see it, and sometimes people get confused because they will see a blue light. But that blue light is just to tell you the bulbs are on. You can never see UVC, and it's dangerous. You will never have any equipment that shines UVC out among people because it's a DNA damaging wavelength of light. I'm real short tonight. Thank you for your attention. UVC can kill COVID, can kill colds, can kill rhinoviruses. We use it in the hospital. We've used it in many other hospitals. We're proposing to you tonight to include it in your renovation budget of the fabulous historic building across the street. That's all I have for you tonight. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Doctor.
I can answer some questions. My day started at 5 o'clock today, so I got just asked permission to be excused. So if you have any questions,
No, that was actually very interesting though, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Doesn't matter which one I pull out.
This purple.
I'll pull out the stringy one. That's mine.
This one. Yep. This
Close
one is.
One, two,
Oh.
can you do that?
This one is the projector screen.
All right, hang with me here so I make sure I get this booted up, because okay, so, here, I just gotta move down to one.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Doctor.
I
There it is.
think it's this
Good call. Okay. So, excellent. All right. Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Jeff Newton. I am principal owner and engineer at Griffin International. We design and engineer massive HVAC systems from hospitals to missile silos to semiconductor facilities, hospitals, you name it, the DIA, very sophisticated esoteric environments, including neonatal intensive care units for just about every hospital in the Midwest. So we specialize in HVAC with a specific emphasis on air quality, disinfection, filtration, and what have you. Since COVID came out, it's become very aware to everybody that a respirable particulate can transfer to another person and infect them and make them very ill, if not kill them. I want to go over respirable particles a little bit here because it's very important. The COVID virus typically measures 0.4 microns. 1 micron is a millionth of a meter. A COVID particle is 0.4 micron. There are viruses as small as 0.22. The N95 masks can only stop particles in this range right here. They're lucky if they get 60 to 70% of bacterial particles on an N95 mask. So viruses are very easily transmitted even with masking up. That said, we need to move from a realm of filtration to air disinfection. Filtration only catches particulate that it can catch, and even a MERV 15 or a HEPA filter in an operating room does not catch a COVID particle. I've been told it takes about 40 to 70 COVID particles to really get a hold of somebody. I don't have any basis for that other than I've been told by some pretty credible sources. So when we're in that realm, filtration is almost useless. You hear about improvements in filtration in schools, hospitals, buildings. It's a panacea. Filtration did nothing except add more resistance to moving air, which increased the horsepower of the fan systems and cost the owner energy money. Filtration doesn't help. You have to get into an area where you can transmit a sine wave, an amplitude, a phase, a frequency. All those are electromagnetic radiation. That's what UVC is. That's what all of those light spectrums are that the doctor identified. And some of this is redundant because it's a very specific science. But UVA gives you a suntan. UVB gives you cancer. UVC is what kills. This is why you don't see mold on the north side of a rock. There is a little leakage of UVC, and that's why the whole earth isn't covered with fungus and bacteria. Always, if you see a rock and it's got mold on one side, that's because UVC is hitting it on the other side, and it's keeping it down. So, very simple process. As a COVID particle flies through a UVC light spectrum, the DNA vibrates to the extent that it breaks. When it breaks, it cannot replicate, it cannot reproduce, it cannot live, it cannot survive. It has to become deactive. That's a virus. Same sort of rules apply for bacteria. When we design a system, especially for your courthouse or jail or neonatal intensive care, we're designing to a 4-log reduction, which is 99.99% kill or deactivation first flyby. We put it inside your HVAC systems. This is your home furnace on steroids. It's a big air handler. These are the UVC lamps. That's the cooling coil. Bad stuff loves to grow on cooling coils because it's damp, it's dark, and it's cool. All of those items can be transferred through the air. When we're moving air through an air handler, we're at 500 feet per minute. That means that particle is moving at 8.8 feet per second. That cooling coil is about a foot thick. That means we have an eighth of a second to deactivate or kill the pathogen. That being said, once that pathogen is introduced into that air handler, it can travel back to that air handler in 5 to 10 seconds, depending on the room load and how the HVAC is set up. Our objective is to fill this room and any room with 99.9% sterilized and disinfected air. So if Mr. Broder or Ms. Garber has a transmittable pathogen that they're breathing, we don't give them the opportunity to grow their hot zone to an extent that it transfers to other people. That's the objective. Keep that hot zone depressed. We keep it depressed because there's nothing in the air like a host, like the doctor mentioned, for the particle to live on. It needs a host. We have just eliminated the nutrient load in this room by filling it with disinfected air. No matter where you go, that's all we do. That's all this is. Dilution is the solution. We put it in air handlers because we like it there. That air is only moving at 500 feet per minute. If we have to put it in the ductwork because there's some reason we can't go in the air handler, we have to increase the lamp quantity by 2, 3, 4, 5 times sometimes because the air in the duct can be moving between 1,500 and 2,500 feet per minute. Here it's only 500 feet per minute, so we have to increase the intensity of the lamp and the UVC in order to kill or deactivate. And I'm wrapping up here. UVC also helps with energy consumption, and it's a way to sell it, so to speak. Every cooling coil, including your coil at your house, gets a biofilm on it. It's a thin, clear film that is basically alive and growing and acts like an insulator. When you put UVC on your cooling coil, it kills it. It makes that cooling coil pristine. This is why we do it for HVAC systems and neonatal intensive care units. This is a very typical drain pan, unfortunately, in a commercial building. Where the cooling coil condensate drains off, lays in that pan, it's not pitched properly or it's dirty, and that's what happens. That's another example. Gigantic blob of white mold. This will grow to the point where it'll start falling off into the air. This is one of the first jobs we did, Children's Hospital downtown, 2001. This was the cooling coil feeding a neonatal intensive care unit on July 2nd, 2001. It was gross. By 8/13/2001, with the UVC application, you can see how clean that coil is. That coil is over 12 years old. That's how clean it got. When we did that at Children's Hospital, those kids got better. It was remarkable. So, AC cooling coils, they can lose 35% of the capacity in just 1 year from the biofilm. It plugs up the coil. It's an insulator. So, long story short, we did an actual study with Beaumont Hospital at 13 and Woodward. We put in UVC on 4 of their air handlers, and we had a return on investment in less than a half a year, just on a large commercial air handler. We went from 9,600 CFM to 12,000 CFM, and we reduced our brake horsepower and gave them energy savings back. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'm also the COVID chair for the state of Michigan for ASHRAE, which is the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. And I'm fired up about it. This stuff works. We put it everywhere. We've got lots of successful stories, and it's a great application for a jail or a courthouse. You never know what's coming in and what's going out, and you all will be in a much safer environment. So, any questions?
That was very interesting, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have no doubt there will be discussions with our contractors.
Terrific.
Thank you very
It's
much.
very reasonable, too. You can put one of these. This for your house is about $600. That goes in your furnace right above your 8-coil. It's powered by 110 volts. The lamp lasts a year. That's all it takes. It takes less than 5 minutes to put it in.
I have a boiler.
Yeah, well, we have solutions for that too, sir. Because we'll move our own air then.
Okay,
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
We all set then?
Good?
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let us
I'm just gonna
move
leave
on
this
now
alone now.
to the rest of our agenda. Commissioner Garber, I think now is your time up.
Thank you. All right, agenda item A, I move to approve the 2022 budget adjustments as presented.
Support.
I have a motion to support. Any further discussion on the budget amendments? Hearing none. Roll call for that? I don't think we do.
It's a financial thing.
Let's just do a roll call anyway. Okay.
Commissioner Johnson is excused. Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen is excused. Chairman Broder.
Yes. Passes.
I move to accept the tentative agreement between District Court and Shiawassee County and authorize the chair to execute the final agreement.
Support.
Got a motion with support. Discussion on that item. This is, as I recall, our new bargaining unit and involves about a dozen people.
Yeah, we have someone here.
Oh,
If any questions,
any questions, any comments? I know we've discussed this on the previous day. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Garber.
yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen is excused, as well as Commissioner Johnson. Chairman Broder.
Yes. Passes.
All right, I move to approve the replacement of a circuit court deputy clerk at a pay grade 3.
Support.
Got a motion with support. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen excused. Commissioner Johnson excused. Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
And Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move that we approve the contract as presented with Memorial Healthcare and authorize the chair to execute the same.
Support.
Motion with support. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen as well as Johnson are excused. Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move to approve the annual renewal with Zix Archive in an amount not to exceed $9,350.
Support.
Motion with support. Discussion? Roll call vote?
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen and Johnson excused. Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes of the January 10th, 2023 Finance and Administration Committee meeting.
Support.
Motion with support, discussion on the minutes. All in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved.
Thank you.
Commissioner Webster.
Item A, I move to approve the yearly maintenance contract with InDigital at a yearly cost of $24,264.94 from account 216-325-801.000 and authorize the chair to execute the same.
Board.
We have a motion with support. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Holzhausen excused, as well as Johnson. Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
Item B, I move to approve the purchase of servers from CDWG in an amount not to exceed $53,500 from 216-325-970.000 and authorize the chair to execute the same.
Support.
We have a motion with support. Further discussion?
I would just say that we did discuss this at 911 today. Kevin Tomlinson was there again also, and just gotta have it.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Johnson excused. Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen excused. Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move to approve the purchase of a new 2023 Chevrolet Tahoe Police Responder in an amount, or in a total amount, of $54,514.45.
Support.
Motion with support. Discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen and Johnson excused. Chairman Broder.
Yes.
Item D, I move to approve the minutes of the January 10th, 2023 Public Safety and Courts Committee meeting.
Support.
We have a motion with support. Further discussion? All in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved. All right. At this time, I can't make the, as chair, I can't make the motion to approve the minutes. Would you do that, Commissioner?
Yes. I move that we approve the minutes of the January 11th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Support.
Motion with support. Discussion on the minutes. All in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those minutes are approved. Thank you. I don't have anything further. I already said my piece. Our county coordinator is not here, and he talked to us yesterday. So at this time, we have our second call to the public to address this board. I have Tom Mankey with a request. There you are.
If I may ask, what did I write down on there?
Something about a township. I can't read your writing.
Well, it was regarding something that you were speaking about before we started, but apparently that's not important anymore, so it's gone. So what's important is what I wanted to speak on is what we just seen today. I think that once any of us media put this out there, I think you're going to know what the people are going to expect. So the biggest question is how much. When he started talking about COVID and how COVID can go everywhere, but this stops the COVID, I think that was just a sales point for I think that just sold everybody in the community. And this works better than masks. You know how much people love masks in this community. So I'm just wondering what the bottom line is going to cost more. And another thing, just for you all, can you imagine how beneficial that would be in the jail for our deputies not to get those diseases that are being brought in? Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioners, any comment, reply, anything on the public comment? Or anything else today?
Does the jail not have portable UVC right now?
I don't know.
We had a presentation about it.
I think they
Yeah.
do.
They,
Oh, they do
And
have it?
They do, they have
Oh.
portable units.
Great, fabulous, thank you.
Yeah.
That's why our deputies keep safe.
I'll tell you, I have 4 people out right now with COVID. And one started and it has hit. I got my 4th one at noon today. So it's like, really, thank
There's
goodness
a new
alone.
strain coming around that is far more, apparently far more contagious even than Omicron, and we're all gonna get it. That's just the way it is.
I know, but our
I
county
know
policy.
we hope not to, but fortunately, it's also proving to be not particularly deadly. So it's kind of like a bad flu, and I sure, I sure wish I could say something else, but it looks like it's going to be out there in the world again. So we're gonna be seeing some COVID stuff running around, I believe. Hopefully, we won't have lockdowns.
The county policy is 5 days out. And you have back-to-back employees out in one area. It's like, hurts. I'm just saying. We'll deal with it, as we always do.
And who knows what strategies will evolve to deal with if we keep getting new strains rushing through the world. It's out there in the world. It'll never be gone now because it's not just humans that get it. Animals get it, and that means that we have no way of eliminating COVID. So COVID's out in the world, and it will be something we have to deal with the rest of our lives. It's just part of us now.
thank you for that.
Let me see if there's anything else depressing I can come up with.
Well, based on the chairman's point and the issue raised by Tom Mankey, the cost, first of all, I don't think we'd be talking about this, and I may be wrong, and that's one of the questions you may want to get into, but for COVID, I don't think we'd be talking about, I get the impression that maybe this would apply to the entire courthouse that's being renovated. I mean, we don't know that. That's certainly gonna impact the cost. And if there are some temporary measures, as was mentioned, that exist for like the jail, I mean, that may be one thing to deal with this problem. And the fact that it's permeating pretty much our atmosphere, or whatever way you wanna put it, Mr. Chairman. There are some really major issues we have to deal with before we even, is COVID in its present status worth all that we would have to go through to do this? So there's significant issues, and efficacy is one, and cost is the other. And it's gonna take a lot of work on our part. I wouldn't today venture how I would come out on those issues.
Well, a lot of things to consider on this. One, obviously what we've had several times now is a sales pitch. And as you know, someone who's making a sales pitch, it's not that they're necessarily not telling you the truth, but often they'll tell you the good points. We have to look at cost, we have to look at maintenance. We have to look at the fact that this train is already on the tracks. And if we want to do this, it may be even more efficient to research it carefully, research different systems, research whether it's necessary, whether it's effective, a whole lot of things, and retrofit. It would be very difficult, I think, at this point to suddenly start changing plans and so on. When we're ready to start, materials have been ordered, the bids are in. For us to be now second guessing Branrow, who hasn't recommended this system, would be a difficult thing for me. I would be hard pressed at this point to give them a call and say, we'll do it. Now, if the rest of you disagree, we can do that. But
Well, is it something we've addressed with Branrow? I mean, maybe it's not that much of an upset to the Branrow plan. It'd be worth asking.
I did.
Okay,
I got exploding heads.
okay.
It is a difficult thing at this
Okay.
point. Not impossible. Anything can be done with enough money.
Okay.
And I'm not even saying we shouldn't do it necessarily, but rather we should approach it carefully if we want to do this. Look at alternatives, look at competitors, look at some people who don't have skin in the game, as far as whether it's a realistic and helpful thing. If we create a little one building that has COVID killer in it, but the rest of the world has COVID everywhere, are we really doing much of anything? I don't know that. There's so many things to consider with this, and I personally would say, we can talk about this. I'm not ready to, at this point, say, yes, I have enough information, let's call Branro, let's start changing specs, let's reopen our bids, let's do all of this. I'm certainly not ready. But I do appreciate the discussion we had today. It's very interesting, and certainly something we could consider in the future. Any other comments on that? All right. I appreciate everyone's time on this, and at this point, we're adjourned.